The Archetypes. Chapter 3, Part 1. The Local. Work has been killing me lately. This past week has been busier than normal, and I've no idea why. My biggest guess is that all the kids are going back to school soon, so their parents are rushing around collecting last-minute supplies. I never bothered with buying supplies for school. Joey would always have a spare pen, and a spare ruler and pencil and eraser and protractor for me, in his footy-themed pencil case. I should have been more prepared for school. Maybe then I wouldn't be stuck in this hellhole. Don't get me wrong. On quiet days, working in the shop is fine, almost cathartic. But I just don't like people asking me questions with obvious answers and standing in front of the items they're looking for. There was a lot of that this week. Ken, one of my grandmother's partners, found out about my struggle through the grapevine. The elderly are always hearing things through the grapevine. It's almost a power in itself. He insisted I come have lunch with him at the pub to catch up and unwind with a beer, and honestly that sounded like just what I needed, so I said yes. He also extended his invitation to Joey, which I was less excited about because when you get Joey and Ken in the same room, you cannot shut them up about football. I hate football, and any sport really. Any time I watch sport is if Joey is playing, and that's only because he always looks so cute in his tight little shorts. He knows it too, which is why he always makes an effort to put on a show for me. Whether it's a dramatic hip thrust as he kicks the ball or a perfectly timed bum wiggle as he's waiting for his teammates to pass it to him. But I'll admit, even though I have no idea what he's doing, I can see he's good at it, and he loves doing it, which is all that matters. But again, I don't love being a third wheel in a conversation about sport, though Ken has invited his wife Jo, who also doesn't care for the beautiful game, so there's that. In school, kids would always laugh when they found out my grandmother had 5 partners. They'd even try to pick on me about it, until I reminded them that having 9 grandparents, including Jo and Mum's parents, means getting double the amount of presents during the holidays. Growing up, Zena and I often asked grandmother what we should call her partners, and she always told us to refer to them however we felt most comfortable. And eventually we just started collectively calling them our grandparents. They all played a role so well. None of them have biological grandchildren of their own, so they spoil Zena, baby Joey and I, rotten, which I'm not going to complain about. There are a fair few of them though, so it's easier to call them by their first name in general conversation, and Grandad or Grandma when I'm alone with them. We met Grandad Ken and Grandma Jo at their house just before midday. They live on a quiet street just a few doors down from the local, which is the name of our local pub. Quality naming, if you ask me. Jo invited us in for a cuppa before we set off before Grandad and had misplaced his wallet, somewhere or other. He was always losing things. We think he's slowly losing his memory, but his power to physically record and play back events really does help there. Jo and their son David, who is the same age as Dad, also have powers, courtesy of grandmother passing them on through her relations with Kenneth. I really don't want to dwell on it. Just as Jo was placing my tea in front of me, Grandad Ken swanned back into the room, waving his wallet in the air in celebration. "Bloomin' heck, Kenneth! I just made the tea. How did you find it so quickly?" Jo said in a conflicting state between whether or not to put her tea down or pour it down the sink. I decided to not let it go to waste and took a sip, which she saw as a cue to place hers down. "Well, for once I remembered to record myself placing my wallet down so I wouldn't forget." Jo looked over to me and Joey with amazement in her eyes. "Well, I'll be. Actually using your powers for good use. Who'd have thought it?" Grandad joined us for a cuppa, and we have a light discussion. Jo asked me to apologise to Zena on her behalf for not making it to her birthday on Thursday, but I assured her Zena was more than content having a quiet affair with the household and her partner Adelaide, Bloody Marie's out-of-drag name. When we'd all finished up, Jo collected our cups and we got ready to head over to the pub. As I was lacing my shoes back up, Grandad and Joey got talking about some US tennis thing and a cycling event going on somewhere in Spain. Jo walked back into the room and rolled her eyes. "I hope you recorded yourself placing your keys down too." She looked to her husband, who scratched the back of his neck with a laugh. "Good job Grandma Jo knew exactly where the house keys were, or we'd never have left. They live on a cosy street, the kind of street where all the residents know each other's business. It doesn't have much going on aside from a corner shop, hairdresser's garage, and of course the local, but it's nice enough, better than my road, which is nothing but houses." We entered the warm atmosphere of the pub and found ourselves a quiet table. There weren't many other people, maybe 6 to 8, not including the bar lady Susan Donovan and her husband Mark. I don't recognise most people here, but I definitely know Sue. She's been a fixture of this pub for longer than I've been alive. She's practically watched me grow up into the man I am now. She clocks me immediately and heads over to our table as she's wiping a glass with a rag. Well, if it isn't Charles and his boyfriend Joey, what a lovely surprise. What can I get you all? Grandad orders us all a round of beer, and she says the obligatory, coming right up, before heading off. Just as Grandad is about to open his mouth, Joe stops him. Now, I won't be having any of his sports nonsense today. There's something important I want to discuss. We all look at her confused. What are we having to eat? I'm starving. We all laugh as the brief moment of tension passes. I start to think about what I'd like to eat, but normal food just doesn't appeal to me as much since I've experienced the taste of human flesh. I opened up to Joey and Zena about it. I had to. They did witness me swallow a chunk of a guard's arm just the other week. They've been helping me work through my cravings of raw meat instead. It's not exactly the same, but I think it still heals me like human flesh does. It just takes a little longer. So I think the solution may actually work in the long run. Unfortunately, this pub doesn't have any raw meat, and I'm struggling to decide what I want from the menu. Joey places his hand on my thigh, and I can feel my blood rushing all over my body, especially to my cheeks. He doesn't look at me directly, but I can sense his blood doing the same. So what will it be? Sue asks, placing down our pints and pulling out a small notebook. Joey looks to me for a moment as Ken and Joe give their orders. He whispers, "Do you want me to order for you? I can see you're struggling." I nod as the pressure of making decisions subsides. "We'll have a BLT, please." Joey is interrupted by the door slamming closed. Everyone looks towards it to see a tall woman wearing a leopard print jacket and ridiculous-looking sunglasses despite it being grey and miserable outside. She pulls them down to glance over them and laughs, making her way over to the bar. "You can't just barge on in here. This isn't your house," Sue berates. The woman places her hand to her chest, acting shocked. "That's no way to speak to your daughter." Sue doesn't move from her spot. Instead, she tilts her head a little as she measures up the invader. "What did you just say?" Sue pushes. "I'm your long-lost daughter, Zara, the one you gave up at birth, remember?" Now Sue takes a step back, startled by the accusation. "I'm not your mother," she says with certainty. "Yes, you are!" Zara yells so loud I swear my glass cracked a little. Mark runs out from behind the bar. "What the hell is going on here?" he demands. Zara gives Sue a sly smile and turns her back to her, looking at Mark. "Did you know your wife had a daughter with another man?" Mark looks over to Sue, unsure of how to react to the news. "Mark, it's not true. You know I've never been able to carry children," she insists. Zara digs her into her giant pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper. "Oh, really? Well, I've got the proof right here. The results of a maternity test I had done in secret." She slams the results down in front of Mark, who picks them up and looks over them skeptically. "How do I know these aren't faked?" Zara gasps at the accusation and turns to a man sitting alone at a store. "Hello, Derek. Congratulations on your new job as a lawyer. Maybe you can help." Derek's eyes widen with confusion. "But I'm not a..." Zara snatches the paper off of Mark and shoves it in Derek's face. "It's genuine," he responds, shocking himself and everyone else in the room. "Mark, you surely can't believe this. This is ridiculous." Mark looks at Sue with tears in his eyes, balls his fists and storms out the back of the bar. Sue goes to chase after him, but Zara stands in her way. An old woman gets up from a nearby table and makes her way over, pointing her finger. "I don't know who you think you are, little girl, but I've known this woman for over 40 years, and she has never been unfaithful to her husband. I think you best leave." She places a comforting hand on Sue's shoulder and accepts it gracefully. "Ah, Fiona, I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your husband. Maybe that's why you're so defensive over Susan and Mark's marriage." Zara places both hands to her chest in a gesture of fake caring. "My husband is alive and well, thank you. Aren't you, Patrick?" Fiona turns to look at the booth she just came from. "Patrick?" She rushes over and lets out a gut-wrenching cry. We all get up to see what's happened and find Patrick slumped over on his chair, clutching his chest. "Someone call an ambulance," a man calls out from the crowd. "Is there a doctor in here?" his girlfriend says, trying to remain calm. "I'm a doctor." Zara raises her hand. Everyone looks to her with hope, but she just lets out a laugh and wipes away a happy tear with her pinky. "I'm just joking, unless you want me to play doctor tonight, Luke." Luke looks at her with a look of confusion and disgust. It looks a bit like he's doing an impression of a rabbit. What are you going on about? His girlfriend looks between the two. Lukey, you haven't told her about us yet. Zara does an impression of a toddler dropping, and Luke storms over to her, forgetting all about the Patrick situation. What are you going on about? He demands as Zara pretends to act shocked. Here, I have evidence on my phone. She pulls up what must have been a video and plays it for Luke's girlfriend. She looks horrified, picks up Patrick's half-drunken pint from his table and throws it over Luke. You pig! She screams as she runs out the door, followed by Luke crying about how, that wasn't real, I'd never do that to you, Louise. And from his desperation, I think I believe him. She did this, Joey whispers in my ear. For a moment I feel goosebumps all over my body as I slowly take in what he just said. I look over to Patrick, confused. She couldn't have killed him. She hadn't been over to that table. Joey senses my confusion and clarifies. She made it happen with her words. She did the same with Sue in the maternity test, and then Derek as a lawyer, and just now with Luke and Louise. It dawns on me what he's saying. She's an archetype. Joey finishes my thought. What was that? Zara skips over to us. Come on, Joey, share with the class. She pushes. Joey doesn't respond. He just throws his browns at her. She smiles at him and then looks me up and down. Charles, I'm so sorry to hear you. My ears shut off after the mention of my name. Her vile tongue can destroy my life in any way she chooses. I'm at the mercy of her words. Lost your job. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My phone starts buzzing in my pocket and I feel everyone's eyes lock on me. I'm the centre of attention now, not poor dead Patrick. I pull my phone from my pocket. My boss's name is on the screen. The room feels like it's spinning. I hit green. I'm sorry, Charles, but I have to let you go. We've had to make some immediate cuts. I cut him off. I've heard enough. I've just lost my job. I know I've complained about it in the past, but I loved it. Stocking shelves and scanning barcodes gave my brain something to focus on. It gave me something to do for 6 hours, 4 days a week. And now it was just gone. No job, no money. It's you, Fiona points to Zara. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it was you who did this. You've come in here just to destroy our lives. She storms over and gets right up in Zara's face. Why? She screams. A scream so powerful it rushed up my nose and so fast it stung like chlorine. At least it soothes my tense body for just a moment. For the drama, of course. Zara laughs again. I've never met an archetype like it. So unnecessarily evil, so intent on causing pain with no clear goal in mind. Why was she doing this? After I witnessed Tony, the drama queen, transform, my family and I all sat down and discussed how we think archetypes form. Mum suggested that we could unlock their archetype form when they set their minds on a specific want. Clarissa wanted men, so she got the power to eat them. Tony wanted to be better than Marie, and so on. But Zara, she was different. How could someone want to cause so much harm for no reason? Kenneth. My thoughts were brought back to the room. Zara was staring hungrily at Grandma Jo whilst directing her words to Grandad. No, I won't allow her to take 2 of my grandparents away from me. I'm sorry to hear about your wife's comb. Joey's fist collided with her jaw. It was such a powerful blow that Zara crumples to the ground. Grandma grabs onto Grandad in shock. Grandad's eyes lit up red, like the recording lights in a camera. He was involuntarily recording whatever happens next. He'd always been in control of his powers before. I'd never seen him like this. It scares me. What if I lost control of my own powers? Didn't your father teach you never to hit a girl? Zara cracks her jaw back into place as she begins picking herself up off the floor. You're not a girl, Joey spat. I've never seen him this angry. You're a monster. You're an archetype. Grandad's eyes turns off. Of course. It all makes sense now. He was catching up to what Joey and I already knew. Don't let her open her mouth, he orders nobody in particular. Derek grabs her mouth from behind. He winces as she bit into him. Someone grab some tape, Grandma suggested. Sue leaps over the bar, which I have to say is pretty impressive for a 60-something-year-old woman. She comes back shortly after with some tape, and her husband, who had only just been alerted to the commotion. Sue fumbles with the tape as Mark helps Derek hold Zara down. Derek lets go of her mouth for a dangerous moment, a moment that gives Zara enough time to spit out the words, "Fiona, I know you're upset, but please, you don't need to burn the whole building down." Sue shoves the tape onto Zara's mouth as Fiona pulls a lighter out of her handbag. Grandma rushes towards her, but she was too slow. Fiona set a light to one of the curtains, which whipped back and set her wig aflame. Fiona combusts, but it wasn't spontaneous. Everyone in the room was torn between rushing for the exit and keeping Zara restrained. We all come to the unanimous decision, which was spoken aloud by Grandad. We have to let her burn. Derek and Mark hold down a struggling Zara as Sue pulls myself and Joey by our arms all the way down to the basement to grab a large empty beer barrel. Joey and I lug it upstairs as the smoke begins stinging our eyes and the burning flames singeing the hairs on our arms. "Quickly!" Grandma coughs as we place the barrel down and Zara is forced into it. Her claws grab hold of the rim, but they are crushed down by the lid as she's locked inside. The barrel is thrown towards the worst of the fire. Zara's muffled, desperate cries penetrate my heart, but I don't relish in the calmness it makes me feel. We have to get out. "What the hell is going on?" Luke yells somewhere through the thick smoke. I grab Joey's hand as he leads up through the smoke towards the exit. Grandad grabs my hand, Grandma grabs his, and so on until we are a long chain fleeing the inferno. The air feels so heavy as it rushes into my lungs. I'm free. We were all free. We stand watching the local go up in flames, black hellish smoke flying towards the heavens. We all remain linked together, watching helplessly as the rest of the quiet street swarms out to see what has happened. "What's happened?" the hairdresser yells, still carrying her scissors. I want to cry, not because the pub is burning down, not really, but because of just how hopeless I feel, how much it weighs on me, how all these people surrounding me have their life paths changed by the flick of a venomous tongue. I finally see how dangerous archetypes can be. It was something I was already aware of course, but it never truly sunk in. Drama Queen didn't hurt anyone in the end, and I didn't know the 3 men Clarissa had killed, one of which I had willingly eaten part of in a pie form. The thought makes me audibly gag, but the others will pass it off as smoke inhalation, so at least there's that. The smoke pours out of any exit it can find, a big fire for just a little lighter. 2 people are dead, 2 real people who I had seen with my own eyes. I've never seen a dead person before, not counting Grandad Arthur because he's not fully dead. I don't know, I can't keep my thoughts straight. I know I'm being overdramatic. All I lost was a job. Some of these people have lost relationships, friends, and here I am crying about being let go. We start to let go of each other's hands as the pub regulars scatter about, talking to their neighbours, but Joey holds on to me, even tighter than before. Grandad Ken and Grandma Joe are still holding hands too. The smoke appears to be heading straight for them. I want to yell at them to move, but I have no words. The smoke breaks free and off into ash and covers Grandad. His hand lights up a bright white and leaves the mark of a beer barrel. For once I'm not curious about what his new power could be. I don't know what to do. I don't want to know. I don't want any more powers. They're not gifts, they're curses. Grandad inspects his hand. Of course he didn't know what was going on. He's startled and projects the recording of Zara being restrained onto the cobbled street. Her terrified eyes make me question whether or not she wasn't fully human. I have so many questions now. Why do we have powers? Why do our archetypes exist? Will I find a new job? But most importantly, will I ever get to eat that BLT?